I am sure that many of you came in to the parking lot off of 252. And there's a sign on the highway, Saint Norbert Parish. And there's a message on that sign. And I know a couple of you might know that because you were at Mass earlier, and the person who wrote the sign is here also. So they're off. What does that sign say? Anybody know? I'll call on our super altar servers. Stand up, please. And what does the sign say? The Trinity dwells within us. Thank you very much. And on the other side of the sign, it says, Parish Picnic next Saturday. When you think of it, the two of those go very much together. That the Trinity that dwells within us and that parish picnic that gathers us together in the Spirit, a wonderful opportunity for sharing and fellowship as a parish. The Trinity that dwells within us, within you and I. We often need to remind ourselves of that when we bless ourselves, Father, Son, and Spirit. When children are baptized into the Christian faith, baptized into the Father, Son, and Spirit. A Trinity. One God, as we know, three persons. Officially, Trinity Sunday, but one author I'd read said maybe it should be actually called Relationship Sunday. For in fact, it is what we are celebrating. The relationship of love that exists between the Father, Son, and Spirit, the relationship of love that should exist between each and every one of us as we share in that Trinity dwelling within us. It's not something out there. It's something in here that I believe in. And that relationship of Father-Son is a relationship of love. And it is the love that Jesus came to share, the love of his Father. And we hear that in the readings from Deuteronomy. I can picture Moses, Charlton Heston in my time, standing just before the children of Israel about to enter the promised land. And what is he saying to them in that book of Deuteronomy? He's reminding them. He's reminding them of all that God has done for them, the goodness of God. And he's asking them to remain faithful as they enter into this promised land. And we know, as we've read our scriptures, that wasn't always the case. There were times when they were not so faithful. They were not so faithful to the covenant, but God continues to call them. And finally, God the Father sends us his Son to bring us to the love of God. Jesus then shares with us the Spirit of God as we celebrate at the Feast of Pentecost, reminding us of the animated spirit of love that dwells within each and every one of us. That faith, that love that binds us together as family. We share that. And I'm not pretending for a moment that it's easy. It's a challenge specifically today, when so much is coming at our youth that are present here this evening, the challenges that they confront, wanting to be faithful to God. But all you have to do is turn on the internet and see the contrast that exists. You know that. And we ask God, who is Trinity, to be with us, to dwell within us. We come to try to understand. Every Wednesday, we gather as a staff in the parish office, and we have faith sharing before we have our meeting. And in faith sharing, we do what is called Lectio Divina. The Gospel is read for the coming Sunday, as it was last Wednesday. And each person is asked to mention a word that the Spirit directs them. And it goes around as everyone shares that, those who wish to. And then the Gospel is read a second time. And then individuals share where the Spirit has led them in hearing that Word of God. And it's a great help for me as I prepare the homily for this evening, to hear what others are saying and where they are. And they share where you might be in hearing that. And words that came out that I never heard before in this Gospel of Matthew. They worshiped, but they doubted. They worshiped, but they doubted. And Jesus chose them to go out and proclaim the gospel. So, folks, they weren't perfect people. I'm not, you're not. But Jesus wants you to proclaim that gospel. What's he say? Make disciples of all nations. The word in Greek is not just nations, it's Gentiles. Go out beyond the Jewish people and go out to the Gentiles to proclaim the good news. Maybe those Gentiles are at King of Prussia Mall. They might be in Paoli. To proclaim that gospel of Jesus Christ is a challenge, and to be faithful to it. Our banners on the light posts in our parking lot, several of them say, intentional disciples, fervent disciples. Does that mean we're perfect? No. We're growing into that. Just like the disciples that Jesus sent in the gospel. We're not perfect. We grow in our faith. Faith seeking understanding. That was something that was said centuries ago by the fathers of the faith. Fides, querens intellectum, faith seeking understanding. We grow in that. And then we become inspired by the Spirit to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ by the manner in which we live our lives as Catholic Christians. Faith, seeking understanding. I'm finishing a book by a Norbertine priest by the name of Father Alfred McBride. It's his autobiography, and in the book, Father McBride goes through his life. It's unbelievable what this man has been able to accomplish. The fact that he was my novice master has nothing to do with it. But wonderful. And this one part that I'm almost to the end, and he's in Russia. And in Russia, he's talking about the faith. This is like in 1980-something. And he's meeting a priest in one of the only Catholic churches in Moscow. And he's talking to him, and the priest talks about of Father Walter Cizik, a Jesuit. And Father Walter was from Shenandoah, Pennsylvania, a Jesuit who's buried presently in Wernersville and who's up for canonization. And Father Walter was a prisoner in the Gulag, Lubyanka prison, for 23 years. And he's written several books about his encounter. But in this one section in Father McBride's book, he talks about faith. Faith is like a dark tunnel. God gives you the light to take one step at a time. The light is not given to see the end of the tunnel. It's a light that God is with us, one step at a time. And we don't know what's at the end of the tunnel. But that is the gift and grace of faith in Jesus Christ. And that is what we celebrate this evening. The Trinity that dwells within each and every one of us. And we give thanks to God for that.